Hi, I'm Thea from Supermetrics. Today, I'm accompanied by one of our clients, dentsu Finland, who's going to share a bit how they help their clients to transition from UA to GA4 and at the same time rethink the client's data collection strategy. Hi, Harriet and Henri. Could you start by introducing yourself and dentsu Finland?
Sure. You go first.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Henri. I work in dentsu Finland as a data and CX strategy director. So working with the data team and a lot of also analytics stuff lately.
Hi. My name is Harriet, and I work here at dentsu Finland as a web analytics lead for our web analytics practice. So basically leading our team of web analysts and all tasks regarding web and marketing analytics here at dentsu. Good to be here today.
Super, I'm glad to have you guys. So let's kickstart then. Could you describe how have you helped your clients to transition from UA to GA4?
Yes. So obviously the transition has been going on for 2.5 years now since the launch of GA4. And some of the clients, they have been like very early when it comes to migrating or maybe implementing it, but now within the past let's say 14 months, the sort of speed of migrations and implementations have been accelerating. And now the actual use, people start to actually use the GA4. They've had it already, but they have still been relying on using universal analytics, and now they have to move on and start learning to use GA4. So I would say currently our tasks are maybe more about how to use GA4, trainings for the interface, training of how GA4 functions and how the data is collected and the privacy features, but then also about how to use the data, because we all know that GA4 comes with a lot of new things and maybe not restrictions and limitations, but maybe challenges when it comes to regular user of universal analytics. So yeah, everything from planning, KPI workshopping, migration implementation to sort of advanced use of the GA4 data would be what we have been helping our clients with.
Yeah, and obviously there's a aspect of, is this tool right for me? So also like assessing that, and we also have to remember that GA4 has developed as a tool sort of especially within last 12 months. So we've had a lot of interesting discussions with our clients that is the GA4 the right tool, and if so, how should we approach the implementation, and what sort of project is this? So it's not just plug and play. Usually, so there's a lot of different elements involved. One of those, I think the most important is, of course, the resourcing and how I'm going to actually use this tool.
And in my understanding, you've helped a lot of clients and you've built this sort of process around helping clients to transition from UA to GA4. Would you like to walk us through how that process looks like?
Sure. So basically, if we take a little bit backwards, when it comes to GA4, I would say planning is the key with it. So basically the basic setup is quite straightforward, but if you want to take your analytics to anywhere to advanced level, you really need to plan it carefully because of how the data is collected. The event-based model, it gives you a lot of flexibility, but it requires careful decision making on how things are going to work, and you need to understand some features when it comes to cardinality, for example. So usually we start the process from this so-called discovery phase. So we get to know the client, their needs, try to understand what they want to measure, what kind of KPIs they need to look from there, what kind of events or things they would like to transform from Universal Analytics to GA4, or should we start from blank canvas basically? And how they are going to use the data, because that's very important also to understand if it's enough for them to report from the interface, if they are using dashboards, and what kind of dashboards do they have a data warehouse set up already, things like that. So to sort of create the sort of discovery of where we are and where we are going to take you. And then we sort of have this planning phase. So then we start planning the implementation, data settings, the whole event tracking and event planning, what kind of parameters we need to collect, how are we going to collect them, do we need to have user properties, do we need to collect user IDs, things like that. And we create this like complete planning and tracking documentation before we start any implementation of the custom events, for example. And then comes the implementation part. And if you've done your like discovery phase and the solution planning phase carefully, the implementation doesn't actually take that much long time. It's very straightforward. You have your event names ready, you have your parameters ready, you just type it into the GTM and launch. That's it. But I think then comes the activation part, and that's the real thing with everything. So you don't have anything if you just collect and you don't do anything with the data. So I think the sort of magic starts to happen then at the activation phase.
Yeah, and also like during this process, I think it's really important and valuable to have the discussions that what is the longer term ambitions when it comes to web analytics usage. So is it more on the basic side, like Harriet was mentioning, or then it might be that the client wants a really, let's say 2, 3, 4 year roadmap on where they're going to be with the data usage and activation. It might involve new websites or new services, and we need to take them into account once we start the process, because usually it's way easier once if we know that something new is coming up. So it's a lot about discussing and doing the design well and thinking, and then actual implementation is quite straightforward, like Harriet was mentioning.
Yeah.
That sounds super interesting. I'm curious to know what's usually the outcome of a project like this.
Happy client would be the main thing.
Functioning analytics.
Yeah, both are usually the things. I think with GA4, the sort of excitement of all the possibilities that you have with it are a key for example in my position. So it's super to be able to show the client the things that they can now see and understand and make insights from, and to sort of share the knowledge of analytics and sort of teach our clients to make more data-driven decisions when it comes to their business or marketing activities or performance. I think that is great for me.
I think one obvious mega trend is that when it comes to marketing and sales, the need for data and insights is all the time growing, and depending on what type of business you are, you already might have quite a lot of data and insights, or then you might not have yet. So also we like these sort of projects, it's super crucial to have those sort of discussions that are you transforming your business in a way that you're going to be needing more data and analytics, and if so, what does it mean regards to these sort of projects, but also the broader view for your resources, your people, the way you run your business. So it can be quite interesting and detailed discussions that are not directly even related to these sort of projects, but these analytics projects can be sort of a catalyst for those sort of discussions.
That sounds super interesting. And I think a lot of different businesses and even marketers can understand the struggle of having the marketing data stack. There's new platforms added all the time, and the data just gathers and piles up, and you have no idea how to leverage it, or you have small ideas or bits and pieces here and there how to leverage it. But I think a plan like that would help a lot of marketers and businesses overall. Curious to know how Supermetrics what has been the role of Supermetrics in all of this?
Sure. So obviously, as an agency, we are using Supermetrics quite heavily for a lot of different things. When it comes to the transition from Universal Analytics to GA4, what is now coming up a lot is to actually bank your Universal Analytics data somewhere. Looks to be so that we still have end of this year to store the historical data from there. So requests from clients are rising now. So what should I do and how should I do it and what next? So obviously now we are like very happy to let them know that, hey, we can help you with that, and Supermetrics is a great tool to avoid manual CSV file exports from the interface. But as we would love our clients to use their data in a more advanced way and to get insights and really run their business making decisions based on data, it means that you need to use your combine your data sources. As you already said that there's so many different platforms and so many different places where you can advertise and get audiences from. So to combine everything, Supermetrics is a great tool for that. Obviously, for us as an agency, our client wants to understand how they perform in different channels. We have a solution for them. We can help them with our license, or if they are more mature or can have their own license to do that. So it's a simple way. And when it comes for GA4, for example, there's already a default schema when it comes to Supermetrics, or we can create our own. It really depends, but it's just streamlining the process. And with GA4, we do know that, for example, the quota limitations have started a lot of conversations, especially with the clients, like, how can I use my data now? So I think Supermetrics has been a key for many in those conversations as well.
Yeah, and like just to add there, I think what Supermetrics does really well is that it sort of brings sense to whole like data pipelining and data engineering, which is traditionally obviously quite difficult and complex subject. So Supermetrics is sort of I see Supermetrics as a household name, which makes quite difficult and complex things way more understandable also for our clients when we have those discussions early on in the project.
And for us as an agency, if a client, we have a new client or existing client who says that, hey, I want to combine these platforms together, we usually already know that, hey, no big deal. We know how to do this. We already have the APIs, the connectors with Supermetrics. And if there's a new platform, we can always make a request to you. And then at one point, we get a nice email from you that, hey, here it is. How do you feel about that? So I think it works greatly also that sort of we can also suggest request new platforms or sources, and then we can at some point tell the client that here it is, let's do this.
Super. I'm glad to hear that. Jumping back to the UA GA4 migration and transition project, what would you say has been your biggest learnings with these client projects? What have you learned, and what has been the key takeaways from this project with clients?
Definitely that you can't make too careful planning with GA4. And for the clients, it's also very important to understand how and what they are going to use from there, because it can come as a surprise for many how basic the basic reports are, how different the user interface is. And even if there's the powerful tool of explorations, you still already need to understand how you can combine dimensions and metrics and what they actually even mean. So you already need to sort of understand what you want to see to be able to create something, and that's something that you didn't need to know as a regular user of Universal Analytics. But when it comes to the planning, especially that sort of event collection, the parameters, parameter namings, to sort of make it future proof so that you wouldn't have any cardinality issues, you would be able to streamline your event parameters throughout different events, taking care of Google recommendations when it comes to event naming, for example. And also to keep an eye on the updates that Google keeps pushing out. So there's been quite many lately. So it can also change something very quickly. So planning would be my key takeaway in this one.
Yeah, and I think one quite obvious addition would be that how do you take care of all the stakeholders within your company? So you might have business areas or business units which have users which might be really advanced users, or they might be not so advanced users, and in order for any project to succeed, you need to make sure that those users know how to use the tool and sort of can influence also with their needs and wants. So that's a sort of organizational and a culture thing, but super important, especially if you are a bigger organization. A lot of different business units, for example.
Yeah, I really agree on that.
Super. And taking this into internally, what have you learned in dentsu Finland based on all of these client projects?
You want to go first? Well, I would say that internally, GA4 has changed quite a lot of when it comes to, for example, conversions. We are a media agency, so of course we have a lot of media specialists doing marketing and planning and campaigning for our clients. And to understand, well, let's take a few months back, we only had, for example, default channel grouping. So how to sort of report things with these and to make sure that the UTM tags are correct and streamlined. So I think it has also sort of taken different teams closer together because we really need to share information. And also it has given us from our data team the sort of chance to sort of spread our great news to the other teams, because they need to learn how to use the GA4. Many of our specialists, they have been using Universal Analytics for their campaign tracking for ages, and now they need to learn too. And we can maybe educate. Sorry, my Siri went on. So
Classic.
so we can share this message of data, proper analytics, campaign performance measurement throughout also in our organization. And also we are an international company, so it's been very, very refreshing to share experiences and best practices within other dentsu teams outside Finland. So a lot of learnings, a lot of streamlining, a lot of good practices to take on from other teams. So I think it's been a high learning curve for everyone within the data and analytics lately.
Yeah, and we are an organization, same as all our lovely clients.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a lot of internal stakeholders that we need to talk to and teach. So as we are talking with our clients and teaching them how to use the GA4, obviously we need to do that internally. And we have a lot of different specialists doing a lot of different things. So like Harriet said, that this has been a great opportunity for us to get closer with other teams and other countries. So in that sense, super interesting and fun times.
Yes, I can totally relate on the fact that it's been a learning curve for us as well. shifting from UA to GA4, and especially when GA4 is still changing quite often, like Harriet, like you mentioned. It is a learning curve still, I say, and it will be for a while, I think. Well, thank you for sharing your knowledge on how you've helped your clients to rethink their data collection strategy. And I think there was a lot of good pointers that you guys gave, and I hope a lot of the viewers get the insight from this. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you for having us. Yes, exactly. Yes, thanks, Theo.